following is a Red Shovel Network production. The Red Shovel Network consists of The Drew Mack Show, Child of the Duff's No Bullshit News, Emma Elrick's Soul of Detroit, and No Filter Sports and shit. Enjoy the following Red Shovel Network production, please.
What's the matter? What is it?
Another case
for M.L. Elrick,
Master Detective.
Yes, it's another case for that most famous of all manhunters, the detective whose ability at solving crime is unequaled in the history of detective fiction. M.L. Elrick, Master Detective. Tonight's curious adventure,
The Unwilling Accomplice.
M.L. Elrick.
And the mystery of the society burglar.
Get your finger out of my face. Get your finger out of my face.
Take the first shot, then, if you want to,
Get your finger out of my face.
It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Elrick?
Hey, kids, it's ML Elrick, your old pal, investigative reporter at Fox 2, and your tour director here at ML Soul of Detroit. We're joined today, as always, by Marc Fellhauer, who is keeping us true. It's not a Spandau Ballet song for Marc, it's a way of life. The Kemp brothers, not identical twins, but both fine, handsome men, and great actors, if anybody's ever seen The Craze. Very scary guys.
Oh, that's a deep reference.
Oh, yeah, and you know who one of the co-stars in The Craze is? A guy named Michael Elphick, which, if you bite your tongue, sounds like you're saying my given name.
Oh, are you writing coattails?
Well,
is that your connection to Spandau Ballet? Is that you sound like a guy who was in a movie with the two guys? I'm an incredibly handsome Englishman who plays bass guitar with a kilt on. That's my connection to Spandau Ballet. And then Shawn Windsor of the Detroit Free Press, superlative columnist, a man who's logged more miles than Madonna's mattress, is here with us. My apologies to our listeners in Rochester.
Starting off the top, right off the top. By the way, I didn't think the intro was long enough. Can we add some more to that, please?
Yeah, well, actually,
outro.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Shawn, because we appreciate you listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of ML's Soul of Detroit here on the Red Shovel Network. And I do have to tell you, we are pleased to be a part of the Red Shovel Network, not just because of the fine production and the wonderful set pieces like Walter, our shared booth announcer, but because being part of the Red Shovel Network makes us part of the Hall Financial Network, because Hall Financial is sponsoring the Red Shovel Network. We appreciate the generosity of David Hall. We can't emphasize enough how important it is that people like David are out there supporting us so that we can survive and bring you this entertainment that's free to you, not free to us, but not free to David either. So thanks, Dave. He takes a chance on this new form of media, podcasting. You kids may have heard that out there with your Instagram and your crystal meth. If you want to finance your home, maybe David won't want to have us sponsor him anymore. If you want to refinance your Hall Financial would love to save you some money. Oh my God, I may be saving him some money.
I know, 1 week and he's going to be out.
I know. It's like, Dave, I just may have saved you some money. Anyways, if he can.
People that do meth need to buy homes too and need mortgages.
If you're one of those folks, email him at dhall@hallfg.com. That's dhall@hallfg.com. Or call Hall Financial at 248-308-5000. 248-308-5000. Maybe it's your first home or your dream home. Maybe you want to take money out of your home. Give David Hall a chance and get lower rates, better options, and more personal attention. They have over 600 5-stars review. We're creeping up on 200 ourselves, so 600 is impressive. The industry average for a refi is 44 days. Hall Financial averages 19 days. So you're thinking Reggie Jackson, he's thinking Steve Eiserman. They will fight for you even if you have a dent in your credit history. Email at dhall@hallfg.com or call 248-308-5000 and thank them for giving the Soul of Detroit a chance to stick around for a while. David, my friend, thank you very much. And Soul of Detroit, kind of one of our goals here is to explain Detroit and break Detroit down and to demystify things and kind of give you a street level view of what things are like in one of the most dynamic and exciting and dangerous and frustrating cities in the country. Now, to me, that's Detroit, but if you hear Shawn Windsor tell it, he says I live in Grosse Pointe.
Where there's lots of crystal meth?
Well,
by the way, we called it Crank.
Oh, yeah.
And is
the
it
good
still-
old days of
Yeah,
Crank.
exactly.
Now
Is
it's
it
what it was?
Is it still
I-
called?
I'd heard something about Shawn having a taste for crank, but I thought that was just something I read in Soft magazine.
That's twice now. First, wait. Is it Madonna's bed or is it?
I wasn't saying you were in Madonna's bed.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, right?
This is edgy new wave thing. We need to keep the kids away from their Coleco football games, right?
Edgy
Or
new
their-
wave. Film.
Coleco.
Oh, is it there? Are they on the
Nintendo by
iPads
now, right?
Is
Yeah,
it-
I don't know.
Okay.
Edgy and new wave. Is that a synonym for misogyny?
No way,
When it comes
man.
to you,
No way. I'm getting me too'd myself. Keep your hands on that side of the counter, my friend. But I have to tell you, I live pretty close to Grosse Pointe. But
How far? Walking distance?
Uncle Rico could throw a football into
Well,
Grosse
you can throw a
Pointe from
football
my-
quarter mile. So quarter mile.
over the mountains.
Or over mountains.
Right.
Yeah, over the mountains.
Yeah.
or where your fence is.
Well, so I'm not going to argue about how close I am because that dividing
that
line,
argument.
as anybody who's been on the east side knows, that dividing line may as well be a bottomless pit. But for those people who may question my Detroit credentials, even after 20 years in East English Village, I have the ultimate Detroit bona fides this week. My car got shot.
Really?
Somebody shot my otherwise pristine 2015 Chrysler 300S.
Ah, yes, Detroit style. Very nice.
And I was listening to Gunshots at night, as we often do. And on this particular night, we heard a crack, like something had been knocked off or sheared off, or maybe a piece of metal had come off of something. I don't know. It wouldn't have been really a power line or a telephone pole. And we weren't sure what it was. And my wife was in one room and I was in the other. And she said, I said,
Fireworks in Grosse Pointe.
yeah, exactly. It must have been, they must have.
Where was the car?
In the backyard. Yeah, because that's the other Detroit thing. If you park in the front yard, your car gets stolen. My car got stolen 3 months after we moved into the city. And I left it in the driveway because I wanted people to know, hey, man, we're glad to hear. We're not worried about anything. And then it got stolen. And then I put the gates up in the back and said, we're glad to be here, but we're not giving shit away. So, okay.
What part of the car got hit?
So it was the ridge line on the hood on the driver's side. And when we hear this sound, my wife goes to the back window to take a look out the backyard because we could tell the gunshots were about a block away, but the sound came from somewhere in the backyard. And I said, if somebody's shooting in the backyard, you probably don't want to be in a window. And she's like, good idea. So we called it a night. The next day I'm backing out of the driveway and gates are open, get in the driveway, walk back, close the gates. And I see this big silver patch on the edge of my hood staring at me, and I can't figure out what the hell it is. And all the paint's blown away from the impact. And I'm looking at it, it's kind of a dent, and there's a little bit of a little copper strip or two there. And I couldn't think about what the hell it would be. It's not like somebody threw a rock. It's not like somebody dropped a hammer. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what it was? Those jackasses a block away shot up into the air.
And it came down, yeah.
It came down. It hit the hood. It didn't have enough energy to penetrate the aluminum, but it dented it pretty good and fell off. And so close to
Has your
Grosse Pointe, I'm within shooting distance.
What confuses me, Mark, about this story is the fact that he actually spent money to buy a car. He
was
spent
used.
money.
It was used. It was a used.
Was it
car.
used?
Yeah.
Are you sure it was 2000? Would you say 15?
2015.
I think you meant 2005
I'm going to buy it next
or
year.
1995.
So I'll get it when it's 5 years
My
old.
biggest fun fact about ML is that you try to carry zero debt.
Right.
And that blows my mind.
That's why I
if you
appreciate
don't
Hall
tip-
Financial at 248-308-5000.
If I didn't
He's
spend
good with
money
that.
on my kids
Yeah,
or tip anybody at a restaurant, I wouldn't be in debt either.
Yeah, Shawn, we just distributed paychecks today. I don't know if you got one.
No, I'm sure I didn't.
Get
Blows
used
my
to
mind.
it.
No debt whatsoever.
I try to be debt-free.
Why?
Well, I'll tell you why. And this is a story that I've heard a couple people tell, so I know it's not just me, but it's all about FU money.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about if you work someplace or you work for somebody or you're in a situation that you don't like, you can't tolerate, you don't think is fair. If you can't change it, if you can't fix it, you got to be able to step. And if you want to step and you don't want to start blowing dudes on Mac, you got to have some FU money.
So what Robert
big-
De Niro said in Heat, right? Don't ever get attached to anything you can't walk away from in 2 seconds flat. Or
Hey, get out of here.
Do you think De Niro could? Oh, maybe Val Kilmer shot my car when he was all tweaked out on whatever he was doing.
it was the ponytail.
What was he taking in?
Something in an envelope, a little tiny envelope.
Cocaine.
Could be. Speaking of cocaine, not that I've ever done it,
You
My
wouldn't
nose
spend the
feels
money
great.
on it.
Now I could
Well,
do.
you could have done someone else's.
Now I could do Q-line type rails with my repaired nasal passages. So
I thought you were going to say with your bank account.
Now you got to get your eyes fixed.
well, you know, I
Saw you
did.
reaching for the glasses.
I did have LASIK, and I do use reading glasses because the one thing they tell you is even when you're seeing 20/15 like I do after my LASIK procedure, I still need a reading glasses when it's real dark in there. But there's procedures that you can get where you don't need that, and one of the guys who does them is Dr. Y, Yaldo Eye Center. You ever play Where's Waldo? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you're blind, you can't find. Well, you don't have to play Where's Yaldo because he's the guy. Yeah, I'm writing this shit myself. Anyways, so there's another sponsor
I
gone.
knew where you were trying to go.
Yeah,
I just didn't know how you were going to get there.
We really need to prepare before these things. Well, this perhaps is Dr. Yaldo's last week as a sponsor of the ML Soul of Detroit. We hope not. He's been a real champ and a sponsor of Drew and Mike for the last 15 months. Dr. Yaldo says he's been privileged to have given custom LASIK and multifocal lens implants to so many new Drew and Mike listeners that he wants to support all of our shows, and we sure appreciate it. He's Michigan's leading LASIK surgeon with over 30,000 procedures performed. His CAT system is the world's most advanced, and multifocal implants is the Rolls-Royce answer for people 50 plus that want to eliminate reading glasses and get 20/20 distance for life. I'm 50 plus. I may need to think about that. In life, you look for what works, whether it's custom LASIK, the remarkable multifocal implants, or getting great designer frames from Dr. Yaldo's optical departments. It's worked for you, our loyal listeners, so tell the doc thanks. Get a free evaluation and celebrate his belief in the Red Shovel Network. Get up to half off custom LASIK till May 15th. Get 2 eyes fixed. You only pay for 1. Details at 1-800-398-EYES, 1-800-398 for those of you who can't spell, EYES, or go to YaldoEyeCenter.com. Dr. Y. Why? Because we love your money. Thank you.
It is work.
Yeah, no, we appreciate these guys. Hopefully this isn't the last week on the old SOD, but what are you going to do? So we try our best.
That's quite a stack of papers there.
Well, I'm looking at.
There's a camera in here today. He wants to look important.
No.
Yeah, only the top page is really printed. Everything else is blank.
Look at that. He's got the yellow highlight
Well,
there.
this is like a.
But not inside, of course, just on the top page.
This is like Kramer's briefcase. You know, you open up, it's just crackers. You know, but it's a nice looking. It's a nice looking attaché
What is
case.
that?
So this is a motion filed by Celia Washington, who was at one point a civilian deputy Detroit police chief who was convicted of taking bribes from Gasper Fiore for helping or pretending to help or creating the impression that she could help steer towing contracts, which are very lucrative in the city of Detroit, to Mr. Fiore and some of his companies. This case was one that was incredibly frustrating for those of us because who covered it, because Ms. Washington was very good about taking our phone calls. She was very good about talking about how innocent she was and how it was ultimately going to be proven and how she was going to fight this to the finish and how we would see that this was all trumped up and how it was a bunch of baloney and blah, 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 blah. Well, that turned out to be just more of Celia's lies. She went to plead guilty. And this is one of these classic, and we've seen this a couple times. We saw this with Chuck Rizzo's dad in another Macomb County public corruption case where he went before the judge. And if you're going to plead guilty, it's not just a matter of saying, I'm going to plead guilty because I'd rather do 6 months guaranteed than take my chance at a trial and maybe do 10 or 15 or 20 years.
You have to be remorseful.
Right, but you really have to convince a judge that you believe you did something wrong.
Yeah.
It's not just a matter of, you know what, Judge, I did the math and it's easier for me to say I did that. Well, Ms. Washington.
We kind of know that's really what's going on.
Well, she was a champ, man. She gets in there and she tells the judge, you know, well, why are you doing this? And he says, I can't take your plea because you don't seem to feel like you're really guilty. And her answer is, so I cannot risk, Your Honor. I can't risk going to a trial. I can't risk a jury trying to reach into my head and determine my intent. Now, I'm not sure how much is in there, intent or otherwise. I can't rely on a jury using circumstantial evidence and innuendo and whatever else a jury brings into the jury box.
That's most evidence.
We need Walter to read this. It'd be so much better if Walter were here. Or Ted. When I am at risk of being away from my 2 children for a very long time, I'm at a point where I cannot afford, whether financially or emotionally, to go forward with this. And I'm asking you, Your Honor, to please, emphasis added, please accept the plea because I cannot risk. Of course, I would love to be vindicated because I didn't know that it was a crime, but I can't risk, Judge, being away from my children. I can't.
Thank you, Your Honor, for listening. So I was faced with two evils, Judge, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, I hate that.
So eventually the judge basically says, okay, just plead guilty and get the hell out of it. But first, he gives her a little speech.
Good. Sounds like she needs a little speech.
He says, you're being convicted of a crime as a public official, a high-ranking public official with a law enforcement agency at a time the city is trying to recover from a horrible chapter in the city's history. In other words, at a time when we need the city and its residents to feel comfortable that we're past this phase of corruption that's so polluted us, we need to be able to trust our public officials. And along come you dirty, rotten skank, and you're as crooked as a Monongahela River, and that's really bad. So we're all sitting here thinking, oh, man, not only is he going to sentence her to everything the feds have asked, maybe he's going to exceed the guidelines. He says that city officials should be like Caesar's wife. They should not only avoid impropriety, but the appearance of impropriety. And he said, and I quote, what occurred here was essentially a violation of the public trust. So we are getting ready for the hammer to drop. And what does he do? If it was a hammer, it was like one of those hammers you use to play Don't Break the Ice.
Yeah, or like the one you used on your car to fool us with that story earlier.
Ball peen.
Well, it was a hammer I got from my garage.
But continue. Good story.
It was a pearl-handled hammer.
I'd like to see a judge unpack all this little story about your
Sean,
so-called dent in the roof. But
Go
ahead.
Don't you have a game to cover? I mean, like maybe even I saw some kids playing hopscotch. Maybe
I don't like it when people poke holes in your story.
Yeah, who the hell's name on this show? Soul of dicks. But so gang bang and gang.
So what did she get? What did he give her?
This.
He went under the guidelines and gave her a year and a day. So she was given a blessing. And one of the things when you go to court, you're supposed to say, first of all, what you did, but you're also supposed to say you're sorry. Well, outside the courthouse, my partner and I caught up with her attorney, Arnold Reed, and asked him why we didn't hear what we thought we were going to hear.
Counselor, she seemed to show remorse and regret for what's happening to her family, what's happening to people in her church. But I didn't hear anything of an apology to the people of Detroit who were ultimately betrayed in this. Why not?
I'm sure you can glean when she says all that are involved. Yes, that includes the citizens of Detroit. That may include the citizens of San Diego.
So what you do in San Diego?
I don't know.
What did she do in San Diego? I don't know.
As yet undetermined. But,
you don't drive me nuts about this story.
Music brought to you by photographer and editor extraordinaire John Brzezinski.
That's a good guy. What drives me nuts
you just got your good side.
She just threw out every excuse and acts like this happened to her. This is something she did.
Oh, well, there's 200 pages here, my friend, that say she didn't do nothing. So I guess that's what drives me crazy is even after she's let us all down and had to be talked into pleading guilty to something that she agreed she was guilty to, and that she said she was pleading guilty because she couldn't take the risk, she then goes to prison and then says, you know what? I really shouldn't be here because it was all a bunch of crap. And so now after getting blown a kiss from this judge, a big sloppy, shameful kiss from Your Honor, she now throws it right back in everybody's face and says, you know what? I really didn't do nothing wrong.
How long has she been locked up for?
She's been in there for 9 months, maybe. She'll be getting out soon.
So she's ready to release herself.
She's ready. Oh, I should also tell you that she had all these people get up and make basically character references for her before the judge, which isn't common, but it's not totally unusual. One of them was her pastor, who basically just got up and said, Your Honor, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. It means a lot to me to be here. I appreciate being here. I want to thank you. It's good to be here. This is a nice place.
I like it here.
I'm happy here. Very, very nice. And I just thank you, Your Honor.
Where are we? We're here.
And that's it. That's
really?
what he had to say. So then,
not much of a character witness.
No, but it was great. I wish we could have cameras in federal court.
I love that you can just throw a pastor out there, and that's my character witness. This pastor. It happens all the time.
So it raises two questions, right? One is, was the pastor just a nitwit who forgot to say, and by the way, she's a living saint?
Yeah.
Or did the pastor say, okay, I'm going to go up there, but I can't tell these guys in good conscience that you're cool because you ain't cool.
Yeah. Was he winking at the judge the whole time? He was saying how great it was to be there?
I only saw him from the back, so I don't know. I'd have to ask the judge. Then one of the people she wanted to go up there was her daughter, But her daughter was so overcome with emotion that she couldn't. So they sent her daughter's boyfriend up to say something for Mom. He really didn't say very much. I mean, he tried.
How long have they been dating?
Yeah, well,
it seems odd.
Well, actually, if it was me, I'd be like, "So your mom's going to be away for the next
Yeah.
year?" Yeah, I'd be like, you know what, Your Honor. But that's just me. But then baby girl regained her composure, and she went up there and said something. So it's like, she ceded her 2 minutes to the gentleman from wherever, and then she goes up there and talks anyway. So after all of this
mess
fiasco, she's now in prison. But the other thing about this is, if she believed all this then, you got to go to trial, right? You don't say I'm guilty and then later on say, you know what, maybe I wasn't so guilty.
She's done, though, right? I mean, it reminds me, another movie reference, sorry, but William Forsythe, John Goodman, Raising Arizona.
Oh,
ex-convicts.
God, such a great
when
movie.
They were trying to explain why they're out, they say, we feel like the penal system no longer
you don't
had
cut yourself, Hezekiah.
Anything to offer us, and we released ourselves on our own recognizance. I mean, this is what she's trying to do, right?
But why?
It doesn't take 208 pages to say that, though.
She feels like the penal system no longer has anything to offer her.
But she's almost done.
Yeah.
Is this about a future job?
Well, that's the question. Now, why is she doing this?
It's an existential crisis.
Now,
she wants out.
She was a lawyer.
3 months.
She was a lawyer, so she's going to lose her law license because of the conviction. But I think if she could get this whole thing thrown out, then maybe she gets out and can go back to practicing law.
Yeah, or something.
So
that's what it's about.
I don't know what's really going on here, but it's yet another ridiculous chapter in this never-ending saga of corruption in Detroit, where even the people who go forward and take responsibility don't. I mean, how ludicrous is that? I did it. I swear I did it. You've talked me into saying I did. I'm talking you into believing that I believe I did it. And then after a little while, no, I didn't really do it.
Does that sound a little Kwame-esque?
It sounds incredibly Kilpatrick-esque.
There's another thing she did that sounds very Kwame-esque, and that's the other thing too. This is all over $4,000, which isn't a big amount, but I love, we've talked about this before, when public officials, they should drop the hammer on them for taking any amount of money. But part of what else she did was she got an $800 bar tab for her birthday party in 2016.
Yeah.
Which Kwame, remember they passed the hat for his birthday party?
And
what
for
is with
Carolyn
adults?
Kilpatrick, and it's a common thing.
Can we just stop celebrating birthdays after someone turns 21? What's the point? Maybe I'll speak in. What's the religion?
10, 16, 21, and then whatever Elric's birthday is every year.
That should be a national
22,
holiday.
Baby.
It should be.
22 fresh living years.
Oh, yeah.
The point that you're touching on is a beautiful one, because everybody
Thank you.
Everybody makes
Nobody's touching anybody, by the way.
But these pleas, everybody argues what they pled to, but what happens in the plea is you give away a lot of things. Like they drop charges, they don't bring other stuff in, or they say we could charge you with 1,000 crimes, but we're only going to charge you with 10. So she claims, I only borrowed $3,000 and I didn't realize it wasn't a loan, but really she also took, or is alleged to have taken, a $5,000 Ford Fusion, free oil changes, $2,400 in engine repairs, $2,700 loan for her home, the $800 bar tab for her party. Now, why didn't we get an invitation to that?
I can hear the envy in your voice.
Good party,
right?
I know.
Free stuff. My goodness.
Let's assume that all of this is true. Let's assume that what she did checks out, that she just borrowed money from a city contractor who then wouldn't allow her to pay it back when she tried to pay it back only after the feds have said, did you take a $3,000 bribe from a city contractor? I have a suggestion for city officials. Don't take money from people who do business with the city. I mean, we can avoid all of this.
Loan or otherwise.
Right. We can avoid all this. It's a little something called the golden rule, which means if you know it ain't right and you don't want it on the front page of the paper, don't do it. And I think Beretta said it best, right?
Oh, yeah. Well,
actually, it was Sammy Davis Jr. who said it. Don't do the crime if you ain't got the time. Don't do it. Shawn, I thought you had me on that one.
No.
Yeah. No? I used to work with a guy named Erik Lords in City Hall at the Free Press, and funniest dude ever. He was such a player that he was going to talk to Gil Hill at Fishbones, and I was talking to Kwame Kilpatrick because we were covering the two candidates for mayor. And he was gone for like a long time. And I'm like, Erik, where were you, man? We're on deadline. We got to get Gil Hill's response. He said, oh, yeah, Gil wasn't there when I got there. I said, well, what took so long? He's like, well, on the way over there, I got a girl's number. So the guy walked like half a mile from City Hall to Greektown, met a good-looking chick on the street, got her phone number. So he was a crazy, funny dude. But one of his
priorities, man.
Oh yeah, one of his funniest things. Well, he was making his own deadline. The other thing is he, when we were trying to get stripper names for the women who may or may not have danced at the
party,
at the Manugian Mansion party.
You already had the names?
Well, we had some names. Some names were floating around. Supposedly it was the Mercedes ladies. And so we talked to somebody, and the other names we got was that it was Mo Money, Electric, Pleasure Girl, and I can't remember what the other name was. And Erik had some familiarity with some of the black strip clubs in Detroit, and he said, Erik, do any of these names sound familiar? He said, those names are whack. So those names are whack.
No.
Yeah.
Was his answer.
So, yeah. But then later on he came back and he's like, I don't know. But
what's he doing now?
I'm not sure. Hopefully he's not listening. He's going to be pissed at
Probably
me
getting
for telling
some
some
phone
of these
numbers.
stories. But
they happened.
But he, when he heard that Sammy Davis Jr. tune, because I was playing it in our City Hall office, and he said, you know, Sammy Davis, when he says keep an eye on the sparrow, he really means it. I said, well, what do you mean? He's like, because he's only got the one eye. So every time I think of Beretta and Sammy Davis Jr., I think of Erik, and I think all these crazy stories. He's also the one who figured out, it's turned into the Lord's show, but, amen. But he's the one who figured out, Kilpatrick used to have this speech where he would talk about how he brought his kids together and he tore a map up and he told the kids to put the map together and when they blah, blah, blah. And it's a funny, crazy story. We'll tell it sometime. But the thing is, Erik was really big into motivational speaking tapes. And there was a guy who was the first big motivational speaker from back in like the 50s. I can't remember what his name was, but he was like famous. He's the guy who invented the whole thing. And he came back from one of these things. Like, we'd all heard this speech from Kilpatrick a million times on the campaign trail, and Erik had to go cover one of them. We were both at this luncheon or whatever, and he gave it, and he came back, he said, I know I've heard that before. And he went sorting through all his tapes, or at that time I think he had CDs, and it's the same damn story, except that the details are changed. In Kwame's story, he was a state rep coming home from Lansing tired who sat down who wanted to get a break. In Sparrow's story, he was a salesman home from the road who sat down and wanted to get a break. And I'm just thinking, where did Kilpatrick hear this crazy story from this guy who, you know, is like long dead? But Erik was a young guy and he listened to it too, so they must still be circulating somewhere. And it made me wonder how many of these stories that he told were just completely and utterly stolen from someplace.
I would say a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
wow, he probably never thought, like, who the hell would know this guy?
When Erik was playing this for me, and this was at the time when our City Hall offices were on the 11th floor with the mayor's office, so we're just like a couple walls away from Kilpatrick himself, and I'm sitting here listening to this over the speakers in the office. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is like a crazy, chilling moment where we know what Rosebud is. It's a sled.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it was like,
alert.
wow. What's that?
Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
If anybody hasn't seen a movie that's damn near 80 years old.
If you missed the 1941 Academy Award winner for Best Picture, crazy stories. And I don't want this to be the Kilpatrick show. I've done more than Kilpatrick in my career, and there's more to Detroit than Kilpatrick. But it is funny how these threads, the corruptions, the crazy stories, the weird experiences, they're a constant in the 300-year history of Detroit where, some folks are like, well, Detroit's only been – no, Detroit's been corrupt for centuries, like every major institution. And I don't know what the answer is. And I don't know what the answer is to another matter we've been talking about. And I have no answers. I just have anguish. And I just want to say, because I don't know what else to do, how terrible I feel and how useless and helpless I feel about these shootings at these synagogues. I have some friends in Pittsburgh who wrote very movingly of the shootings at the synagogue in Pittsburgh. And after that shooting, I reached out to some friends of mine, some local friends of mine who are Jewish, and just said, is there anything we can do to help? Speaking as a Catholic dude or just as a non-Jew. And they're like, no, just good to know that people are thinking about us. And then when the shootings happened in New Zealand, I didn't reach out to anybody. I guess I was just stunned. And then after these shootings in California, I reached out to some people again, and they said, no, when good people stand up and speak, we'll fight this, we'll win. But it's just, how many times do we have to reach out and tell people that we care about them and that we are concerned about them? And now there's a shooting at UNC during finals week. I have 2 daughters who just finished finals week at 2 different universities, and we don't know enough about this thing at UNC to know what the guy was thinking.
It's really odd to me that it's schools and places of worship in general that get shot up. You have synagogues,
people gather. Right?
The Texas shooting was a church. You're right. It's where there's
last
mass
year,
people.
2 years, in Vegas, it was
a country western.
Well, but Sri Lanka, these
nightclub in Orlando.
These were churches and high line hotels where people were having breakfast. In fact, there's a great story in the New York Times that talked about how the richest guy in Sri Lanka and the richest guy from Denmark both lost children in the bombings. It turns out it's because the Sri Lankan guy's kids blew up the guy from Denmark's kids, but it was just it kind of reinforced how it's not just desperate, miserable people. It can be people of tremendous privilege who are perpetrators of this. And even Osama bin piece of shit, he was a pretty wealthy guy. I don't know what his beef was. So I don't know.
Well, a lot of
I don't know what we do.
How many wars are started with religion? I mean, it's the battle over religion for whatever reason. The thing regarding the latest shooting in the synagogue, and it actually goes with a lot of these, is we know so much about a shooter. We know so much about what they do. I'm guilty of it because I'm fascinated by what makes an animal, what makes a monster like this. And the question is, you have sites like 4chan or 8chan. We've talked about Facebook streaming.
Yeah, what the hell's on 16chan? That must be really bad.
But so then you have the media in general, which you're both a part of, and they cover this. Is that something that shouldn't be covered, or is it covered because it gets clicks and it gets views?
Well, you guys talked about this on Drew and Mike, the question of whether or not they should be covered. And I do think there is something of the copycat. And we have heard these people, these latest shooters at the synagogue say, this is a tribute to whoever. Mm-hmm. So now here's where my paranoia streak comes in. And of course I'm all for everybody being able to express themselves. But I worry about when we don't talk about who these people are and we don't talk about what happened, that there's that Orwellian ministry of information out there, the ministry of love, where people disappear. Now, these guys who were responsible for these shootings, if they got disappeared, it wouldn't break my heart. But if all of a sudden Shawn Windsor disappears and people start saying, well, what happened to Shawn? And it turns out the Fords have some influence and they didn't like his column about the Lions, so they had him disappeared. Yeah. And I say, what happened to Shawn? They say, well, we can't tell you what happened to Shawn, but let's not rule out the possibility that he did something criminal at a synagogue or whatever. I mean, I just think we need to know who did what, just so that government can't start doing things and saying, well, this is a matter of state. This is for your own good. I don't want government. That's what that drives me crazy with the shootings thing is I don't want guns taken away, but I don't know what we can do to have people who shouldn't have them not have them. And I'm looking for some new and some great ideas from that. If they come from the NRA, I don't care. I want people who care about this issue, who are strong on the Second Amendment, who have some ideas that they can be comfortable with to come forward and put some ideas forward.
I'm all for shining a light on anything. Let all the information for the most part be out there, because more information tends to be better. Will it get bastardized? Will it get changed around? Yeah. But the more you know that evil is out there and how it's formed and that it's there and who they are, I think that's a good thing.
Well, of course it is. We can't not cover these shootings.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
Well, not the shooting,
turn
but
away.
The actual perpetrators.
And you can't not cover the shootings without covering the person who's responsible for the shootings, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it kind of.
But in most of these shootings, I remember their names. I remember the name of Adam Lanza. I couldn't name any kid.
He's a guy from American Idol.
That's Adam Lambert.
Oh, sorry, Adam.
You're getting your Adams confused.
Yeah. But so Lanza was Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
See, I don't remember any of their names. I just remember.
You don't really? Okay.
I just remember
you're drawn to the macabre in a way, and
Well, I think it's because of what we do. I mean,
Right.
we're always talking about them, and they pop around.
No, I understand why, but I'm with you, Mike. I can't. ML, sorry, I
No,
can't.
Shawn is sorry.
I mean, I guess you could make the argument we don't want to understand, and maybe there's an emotional part of you that doesn't want to understand. Certainly, families of victims, I feel really a lot. I feel really bad for those folks because they don't want to see these names. They don't want to see anything about these people. Maybe some do on some level. I don't know. It's hard to imagine.
So maybe what do we do? What do we do? We keep talking about it. We keep looking for solutions. But maybe one of the most important things we do is we let people know that we care about them. And maybe some of these pathetic bastards who do this, if somebody told them they cared about them, maybe they wouldn't be that pathetic. I don't know what the solution is, but we have to keep looking because what's going on right now is getting worse. And whatever side of the debate you're on, we all agree it can't continue.
I won't change my mind on anything, regardless of the facts that are set out before me. I'm dug in, and I'll never change.
Rate nut. Rate two. Rate nut. Rate two. Rate nut infinity. Rate two infinity plus one. No.
Tony Bennett, not the singer, the coach, announced this week that the University of Virginia men's basketball team, the very second best college basketball team in the country, they just happened to get the trophy, is not going to the White House to meet with President Trump. The claim is that there's just too much going on. There's kids getting ready for the NBA draft.
They don't like Big Macs.
There's one kid studying for a final exam in kinesiology, and then there's other things that they can't get to.
This is all a lie.
And so they're not going to the White House.
All a lie. That's all a lie. Every other team can manage to get people together to go.
Well, actually, none of the basketball champs have gone.
Well, Baylor was there.
Women's basketball.
Baylor.
Oh, because they're Christian.
Exactly.
Didn't UNC go? Or Villanova? Didn't they go recently?
I'm not sure. My understanding from what I read is that the last couple of NCAA basketball champions have not gone.
Okay.
And then some football players did go, and then some didn't from
go.
Clemson. But my question is...
Again, Clemson, but the Eagles didn't go when they won.
Wait a minute. Wilfred Brimley here is against schools from the South?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying...
I reckon they's all crazy down there.
Dabo Sweeney, who's the coach at Clemson, is a very... he's a conservative soul, so of course he's going to go, and of course he's going to take that team to go. And they pray in the huddles, and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
So does D'Antonio. He's from the North.
Why?
And he probably would go.
Why is it the coach's decision?
So that's the question.
That
Yeah,
is a
should
good
they be
question.
going?
Yeah, they absolutely
Free trip to the
should.
White House, get to look around. You go see the president in the Oval Office. That's pretty cool.
I know they don't like individual thinkers in college athletics, but it should be up to the individual. And frankly, you should go. It's not always about who the president is. It's about the institution of the executive branch in the White House.
Well, Shawn's brought up maybe you have a cholesterol problem and you don't want to get fast food when you show up.
What about? Do you see a difference, Mark, between the college and the pros? Because especially in the NBA.
Oh God, yeah.
The Warriors
the
haven't
NBA
gone.
champs haven't gone. Yeah, Steve Kerr's been very outspoken.
Even
Curry.
in the NFL, I think the Patriots went, but the Eagles, did they go?
I think
I
again,
can't
it's
Some
some
of them,
some
some didn't go,
Yeah.
right? And then Trump invited, then disinvited, and right because he,
Well, technically, he didn't invite Virginia, so that's the other thing. It's like, are they turning him down?
And they should. The invitation should go out there, and the institution should accept it. I mean, why not? It's part of winning it. It should be an honor, regardless of who the president is. I mean, remember Tim Thomas, the goalie for the Bruins?
Oh, yeah.
I believe he didn't go when Obama
Pride of
was
Grand Blanc, I think, or Flint, or whatever.
when Obama invited him, I believe he skipped in. There's been other people that have
there were a
skipped
few.
it, which is fine. That's an individual choice. But what if somebody on Virginia wanted to go, unless the fear is that no player was going to go?
Yeah, well, I think it's a team thing. The other thing is the difference with Virginia is it's located in Charlottesville, and there's all the issue about how Trump inflamed the
Absolutely.
aftermath of Charlottesville. So is this Virginia thing have another dimension because would it be the university and the city that was so riven now seeming to endorse the president who said some things that were not conciliatory?
Do you guys find it to be more divisive when they're not invited and they don't accept either or?
I mean, I find the whole thing silly. Does the president ever wear all these jerseys he gets with his number on the?
No, you're right.
I mean, the whole thing is kind of ridiculous to me. I guess what I would say is that if I was invited to the White House, I would think it's
an honor,
kind of cool. Now, if I had a problem
with some policies that the country was doing, or with the occupant of the White House, maybe I would wear an armband. But I wouldn't mind having a look around the White House.
I think this is different. This is just different. It really is.
Virginia, or just in general?
Who's
these
in
times?
the White House at these times? It's not policy.
But then you don't make it all about him.
NBA teams went to see Bush.
Mm-hmm.
Progressive. I mean, because can we agree that of the four, well, maybe
by a
hockey
mile,
a little bit, yeah, but it's by far the most progressive league. Hockey to some degree because of all the Europeans and Canadians, but that's more individual. Yeah, but those teams were going to the White House every year under Bush, and maybe they didn't agree with some of the policies. Phil Jackson went, probably, I'm trying to remember when the Bulls first started winning, but
I think he actually had employee ID.
Clinton was around for most of those. I'm trying, and right, plenty of people have gone and disagreed on policy. That's been going on for decades since this tradition started.
But you understand that.
So are you saying that these guys should go?
No, I'm not. I'm saying that I don't think this is about policy. I think there's a feeling that this particular person in the White House has made this a different thing. That it's not even about the White House. He has cast a shadow, whether you like him or not.
But don't
he is
make
part
it
of the psyche of this culture right now in a way no president has been.
Agreed.
As long as I've been alive.
Agreed.
I don't think anybody can dispute that, whether you like him or not.
But don't make
It's
it about
not.
him.
But he's made it about himself, and they're responding to that. That's what they're doing. For better and for worse. It's not about policy.
He has waged a war on elitism, and his base does not like what happens on universities. So isn't one way to overcome it by having a public university go to the White House?
I don't think he's responsible for this war on elitism. I agree he's hopped on board. But
I don't think he's responsible, but that's part of it. It's part of it along the base.
Well, I find the whole thing ridiculous because by going to the White House, Trump does not validate their victory. And
they don't validate him
and
either.
by going to the White House, they do not validate his presidency. To me, it's kind of a once in a lifetime experience. And
go to the White House, right? Teams.
Yeah,
right. But the other thing is,
it's supposed to be an honor.
Yeah,
right. But the other thing is, there may be some people involved with the program, particularly the bigger ones like the football teams, and we have seen that where some people say, "Well, you know what? I'm going to go because I do support this guy." And there are some people. I would hate to be one of those people who says I have the right to support who again, it's a freedom in this country that people fight and die for. To say I want to go, I would be upset, I guess, if my coach or my university said, "We know he's your guy, but you can't go shake his hand."
Well, I got to believe that the coach talks to the players. I know at the NBA level, again, particularly the Golden State Warriors, the first time they won, maybe the first time they won when Trump was in office, the coach and the general manager, Bob Myers, and the coach, Steve Kerr, left it up to the players.
You think that's what happened here with UVA?
I don't know, but I got to believe that there was some discussions had, that it wasn't just a autocratic decision.
Either way, I think
how much of it has to do with recruiting?
That's possible.
I mean, is there negative recruiting where somebody says, "I know you want to go to this college, but take a look at this coach here shaking hands with Trump"?
If SMU had won the championship, they would be there. I really think a lot of it.
But SMU is not going to win the championship because they're not recruiting the same kind of players who aren't going to want to go to the White House.
The politics of who's on the teams, how they see this country, how they see Trump from their perspective has stirred and played into certain things. They're just, there's no way they want to step foot in that.
Well,
I'm not saying they shouldn't or they shouldn't. I'm just saying that's how it is.
I guess if Marc wins a championship, he's going. If Shawn wins a championship, he's staying home.
I just want some free food.
And I just want to get off the bench.
Well, I can get a filet of fish around the corner. I need to go to D.C. for that.
Yeah, but it's
I'll
not
go
on
for
a platter.
Ben's Chili Bowl. Ben's Chili Bowl.
Are they a sponsor now?
No. After the last two hot reads, Ben's Chili Bowl has nothing. They want nothing to do with the show. But don't forget, Kwame Kilpatrick and Christine Beatty again. God bless it.
Oh, my God, you couldn't go 5
they
minutes.
Were at Ben's Chili Bowl.
5 minutes. I don't want to talk about Kwame. Oh, Kwame. Kilpatrick.
Oh, man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek? Or we're turning into cool guys?
Maybe it's just me, but when I hear Game of Thrones, I think geeks.
What?
But maybe it is just me.
I don't think of the 18 million people that watched the last episode.
I think dirty, horny dwarfs and spears and dragons.
Oh, it's a battle of good and evil, and fire and ice.
And fire and ice. And, all that good stuff. I don't watch Game of Thrones.
You don't have cable.
Not big on the Cabla TV thing, but people who have watched Game of Thrones.
You could read the books.
Oh, that
There's
costs
more
money,
shows than
too.
there are
I guess
books,
you could
right?
go to the library, but you'd have to spend money to gas.
They used to be known as free libraries. So
that's why you don't go in them anymore. You don't want to support your community. Well,
of my community.
But a lot of people, in Grosse Pointe, you don't have to worry about it so much. You're surrounded by a lot of money.
Actually, I tried to go to the Grosse Pointe Library, and the pearl gates slammed in front of me. The red carpet rolled up because they saw that I had a car with a bullet hole in it.
Just going to say it. I knew it. The dent. And then
it's not Kilpatrick.
That's
it's
right.
the bullet. This
They
bullet
saw the ball peen hammer in your trunk. And
It's not just Game of
Wait a
Thrones.
minute. You're saying this is... this is perpetrated? This is
Didn't I suggest that earlier?
This is
Mark?
Tawana Brawley?
He's not paying attention to us little
Oh,
people.
my goodness.
After all, his name is on the show.
His name's on the show, and Kwame. What'd you say about a ball peen hammer?
Yeah, well, that's what I heard.
Anyways, I guess this cinematographer Game of Thrones sucks, and that's your geek of the week. No, somebody... so what's the problem with this guy?
That and...
It was dark in the Middle Ages, right?
No, and I know it's the
Except
dark.
when a friggin' dragon sneezed.
And the episode was supposed to be dark, and I get it. But what's driving me nuts about this cinematography guy is he's fighting back now and talking about that's the way the directors wanted it, and it's your guys' fault and the cable's fault and how they deliver it, and it was edited perfectly. But not everybody gets to watch it in the editing room like he gets to watch it. And frankly, the episode was the longest Game of Thrones episode ever. So it's not just the cinematographer; it's also the editors and the producers. It was an hour 15, hour 20, I think. It could have been done in a half hour. And that goes to Shawn's point, because you saw the Avengers Endgame.
No, my kids did.
Kids did. Okay.
Sorry.
Don't tell me what happens. I assume superheroes are involved in a fight.
It's 3
Against
hours.
a Thermos?
3 hours.
Is it? They're fighting a Thermos?
It's 3 hours, and it's not the Godfather.
What's it? Coleman? Isn't that the villain Thermos?
Oh, Thanos.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
But 3 hours. Brandon went at a 12:30 showing, didn't get home till 4. I'm kind of over 3 hour movies.
Get over yourselves. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Get over yourselves.
Can't you tell a story in 2
people who
hours?
like this stuff go 3 hours without masturbating? I mean, or maybe they're not going 3 hours without. Oh boy.
So this is like the old Virginia and Champaign, Illinois. That's what you're saying downtown. Maybe it was Urbana. I can't remember.
What's that?
I don't know.
Wait,
reference.
Wait, what's going on here?
You're talking. You're going down a.
There's a Fighting Illini.
You're going down a sticky road. No pun intended.
Wow.
You're going down a dirty road. Dirty.
A back road.
Come on, man.
There's got to be a story there.
Unbelievable.
We can
it always
edit
comes
this,
back
right?
to this. If it's, I'm sorry, I haven't talked about Kilpatrick for 5 minutes. Let me talk about,
Okay, so that's
So editors and cinematography.
very bad people.
Those, they're the worst.
Okay.
Terrible.
Yeah. Let's get them.
Terrible.
Let's get them.
See you again.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night. You've got the time.
For some people, some really lame people, the height of new wave music is Soft Cell's Tainted Love, or they love
Oh, it's a great song.
I'll Stop the World and Melt With You.
Another great song.
I will stop a car.
Don't be an elitist.
It is a great
Get the hell out of a car if I hear that song
Oh, that's all it takes?
one more time. Damn, this is...
What's wrong with Tainted Love?
First of all, taint, but it's not an original tune. Not that you can't have other tunes that are covers that are great. It's possible, but if you like Soft Cell,
and we know you do.
I do like Soft Cell, and you like their debut album Nonstop Erotic Cabaret for more than being a cool title. Or another reference back to that theater that Shawn was talking about.
It sounds like they've been to Champaign, Urbana.
In the great state of Alabama, yeah.
Illinois.
Gives you a whole new... What did I say, Indiana?
You said Alabama.
Alabama.
Indiana, Alabama, Illinois.
Damn it.
It's all flyover for you.
It is.
Next week
for
we're
you,
going to
for
be...
many of those states would go to the White House.
Next week we're going to be talking about kids' inability to learn geography. It's going to be a fascinating
Actually, they probably
topic
would.
here on the Soul of Detroit. Please tune in. But Soft Cell, if you like Soft Cell, here's a little ditty that I think is worth a few minutes of your time.
Make you
natural the way you are. I would like you on a long black leash. I would parade you down the high street. You've got the attraction, you've got the pulling power. Walk my little doggy, walk my little sex walk. We can make a scene, we'll be a team. Making the headline sounds like a dream. When we hit the floor, you just watch them move aside. We will take them for a ride, alright. They all love your miniature ways. You know what they say about small boys. Looking so huge, big and it's gold. With my dumb chauffeur, looking to procure. Run, little doggy, lure a disco dolly. Run my little sex tour, I feel so lonely. Get my little camera, take a pretty picture. Sex tour, in gold rolls, making it with the dumb chauffeur. Isn't it nice? Sugar and spice, luring disco dollies to a life of vice. Sex tour, isn't it nice? Luring disco dollies to a life of vice. Outfit for my little sex tour. To match the gold rolls on my dumb chauffeur. We'll all look so good, we'll knock 'em cold. Knocking 'em cold in black and gold. We can have playtime in my little playroom. Disco dollies, my sex tour, and my dumb chauffeur. I would like you on a long black lead. You can bring me all the things I need. Sex tour, isn't it nice? Luring disco dollies to a life of vice. Sex tour, isn't it nice? Luring disco dollies to a life of vice.
I swear it's just coincidence that we play Sex Dwarf on the same episode when we're talking about Game of Thrones. But boy, isn't it just meant to be?
Sounds like a deep song. What's it about?
Luring disco dollies to a life of vice. I thought, weren't you paying attention, Marc?
Oh, yeah.
By the way, Marc Fellhauer, have you guys ever been seen in the same...
no, we spell our name the same way, too.
In the same gay bar together at the same time?
He's gay? Or are you saying I am?
No, I'm just saying that's where you hear a lot of disco.
It's really interesting, though, this song. They made a video for it in 1981. It is still banned to this day from being shown on TV in the UK.
Really? I thought of them as being a little more progressive. And I will say the coolest, funnest bar I think I've ever been to was a gay bar in Madrid.
Oh, really?
But we were there with some English girls. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
What, English girls?
No, there's a lot right with English girls.
The video has brothel workers wielding chainsaws, a dwarf wearing a fetish outfit, and piles of raw meat as Marc Almond performs the song in a tiny codpiece. Maybe that's why it's banned. It also sees them react in horror after the director threw live maggots at them during the shooting. The uncensored video is on YouTube if you want to see it.
Oh.
He told Yahoo, this is Marc Almond, that the video for Sex Dwarf was way ahead of its time in a way that we were using transgender people, or we'd use people who were prostitutes that we found around Soho, people that were working in clubs. And then here was the dwarf himself, which really went against what you were supposed to do. But today in 2019, it's still banned?
My only problem with that is even if I needed a tiny codpiece, which I don't, I wouldn't wear one. I'd have like a watermelon rind or something. Even if it's just
in maggots.
Yeah. Well, what am I doing right now? I mean, come on.
They were unable to play Sex Dwarf live for many years, saying that I've gone off Sex Dwarf. This is Almond again because the song caused Soft Cell such a lot of trouble. So it still had effects on them.
Wow. Well, the first time I ever heard this tune, we were on a stakeout, and the station has a couple of
a stakeout,
hybrids.
is that in quotes?
You mean like we had a steak and it was
what
out?
were you doing?
With maggots? And no, we were sitting on a house. We were doing a story on John Lumbo, who was a state rep who never went to work and then moved outside his district.
We were in that piece.
You were in the first one. Yeah, this was a follow-up because he moved out of the district. Yeah, that was the
classroom.
The Ferris Bueller, starring the Drew and Mike crew, while on hiatus. You guys were available and working cheap. I think you guys settled out of court for a burger at Irish Coffee on the East Side, serving great burgers since 19-something. Stop by. Tell Heather ML sent you.
Are they an advertiser now?
I don't know. I'm not doing real good with the advertisement.
You're on your stakeout for a Lumbo.
Yeah, so I had one of the station's hybrid vehicles, which are great on a stakeout because it's cold out, but they don't put out an exhaust plume, so you can kind of be low profile. And it had satellite radio, too. Yeah. And so I'm sitting in this kind of less than wonderful neighborhood in this car that's kind of buzzing but not really running. And if anybody walked by, they'd hear Sex Dwarf coming out. And I thought, well,
cool. I won't give it.
Cool tune. And then we did end up getting a Lumba.
Yeah.
You've seen another hour slip through your fingers here at ML Soul of Detroit. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. Thanks for writing. You can reach us at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. Call us at 313-Butterfield-89070. Subscribe on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you like. Rate us unless you hate us. We certainly appreciate the support of Dr. Yaldo, David Hall, and the Red Shovel Network, especially our fellow shows, the No Bullshit News Hour, the No Filter Sports, and Drew and Mike podcast. Red Shovel Network, it's great to be a part of it. Cyrus, take us out.
Can you dig that? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
This has been another of the strange adventures of ML Elric, Master Detective, which are brought to you regularly at the same time each week by the Red Shovel Network. What's your story going to be next week, ML?
Well, the title of the story that I want to tell you next week really gives you the clue to the whole thing. I call it The Corpse in the Cab.
Oh, you mean, I suppose, that you're going to tell us how the corpse got into the cab, who the corpse was, and so on. Is that the idea?
That's the idea.
Yeah, Mr. Fellhauer.
But it's not nearly as simple as it sounds when you tell it. There were no clues on the corpse. No means of identification at all.
That isn't quite true.
Shawn.
It would have been literally true if you hadn't been called in on the job. You know, Lieutenant Riley was completely stumped.
Yes, but I'm not sure just how little it takes to stump our friend Riley completely.
Anyway, Mr.
Fellhauer.
If Nick hadn't been able to apply a little real deductive reasoning to the few bits of evidence he could find, the case would still be a mystery. I know that.
Well, Shawn.
However that may be, I can assure you that next week's story will keep you guessing right to the very end. And until then, so long, folks.
So long, everybody.
And so long to you both, ML and Shawn.